That's right. Notion did it. You have the ability to connect to other tools via webhooks. They released this document only 9 hours ago as I'm recording this, so hopefully this will help everyone out. So I'm gonna actually walk you through how to use webhooks and explain necessarily how everything works here, okay? So what are webhooks? They essentially let you integrate these different tools that are out there. Like for me, I use make.com, and they allow you to receive real-time updates from Notion. Whenever a page or database changes, Notion sends a secure HTTP post request to your webhook API endpoint. What that means is, you change a property or text inside of Notion, it'll immediately send it out to the automation that you want it to. That's what essentially is at the end of an endpoint. It'll either sync data, trigger an automation, or keep your UI in sync with user activity. So how can we get things started? Obviously, this is a good diagram to show how it works. When somebody edits a page or database, it's gonna then send this event out. I'm really appreciative that they did this because, by the way, it's crazy how much work. So if you go to developers.notion.com/reference/webhooks, you can visit your integration settings, and I'm gonna create a new integration really quick. So webhooks are here. I was testing it out in beta, but we're gonna make a new one. So I'm gonna associate it to my workspace, internal, and I'm gonna say workspace webhooks. Press save. All right, I'm going to go to configure integration settings. Now, what are we going to do here? I wanted to have all these capabilities. So I'm going to add as many capabilities as possible. And then I'm going to go to create a webhook here. Now, it's fine to have everything on here. You may want to limit it in some respects. FYI, it is saying enable read comment capabilities. That's why I added this, just FYI. This is letting me know that needs to be the case. You can always press save at the beginning of the process and then go back, and then you'll notice that that isn't gonna be there anymore. So what's the webhook URL? I'm gonna go into make.com and create a webhook example. What I'm gonna do is I'm in make.com in a new scenario. I'm gonna create a custom webhook. I'm gonna add a new one and press save. Now there's gonna be a link here, and you'll see that it's waiting essentially for an input to come through. So I'm just gonna type this in here by pasting it out, press create subscription, okay? So what it's waiting for now is essentially, you see that connection successfully determined, very cool. And it says you must verify your endpoint to receive webhooks. So now what you need to do in order to get webhooks is you need to verify it. So we're gonna click on verify subscription, and you'll notice that in here, when I press resend token, there is a verification token that I'm gonna grab. I'm gonna copy it out. I just double clicked and press copy, and then I'm going to paste it in here. Now I'm gonna press verify subscription. And then from there it says, this subscription is currently active, yay. So these are all of the things that are here. So essentially what'll happen, as is explained, is you can verify everything. And how it works is essentially, what you can do is in your Notion workspace, you need to add the integration to a page. So let's try it out with my tasks here. So let's go to, for example, let's go here, for example. I want to add the integration, and what you're gonna do is we're gonna go to connections, and we're gonna add this to workspace webhooks. Press confirm, okay. Now I wanna leave a comment here. So I'm gonna put a test comment, and when I press run once, wait a second, what is this? This is crazy. You'll see if I run it again by leaving it on, I'm gonna leave another comment. I'm actually gonna reply to this comment and say, comment number 2. Look at that, it ran. Okay, this is actually really big. This is huge. In here, what you'll notice is it's a block that has a comment, and you'll see that it has the workspace name, it has an ID, authors, what is that? Person, who's this ID? Interesting, so that ID must be my account ID. Now, this is pretty big for a lot of reasons. I work in a content-based system, and we actually have a couple automations that are pretty awful. So let me explain what that means. Inside of Notion, if I, for example, were to leave a comment on this page, beforehand, what would happen if I lived to comment, resolved anything, you can see right there. I'm gonna leave this open, by the way, history-wise, so you can just see when it runs. I'm gonna press undo on that, and then I'm gonna press film strip. Here, it doesn't add anything. Let's see what else I can do. If I press resolve, will it do anything after this one? I'm gonna refresh, doesn't seem to do it. So the list is pretty much gonna be broken down here. So it's essentially comment created, comment deleted, comment updated. And we can get more specifics as to what this means in the API docs. So say, for example, I would have instead edited the content of this. You see it runs instead. So it's not fully there yet. It doesn't have everything, but it does have a fair amount of things. And this is going to be huge. I work in a product called frame.io. It's really nice. It's great. However, I'm trying to break down a issue here. When I'm working with scripts, they have some things that come up. You know, somebody approves a video script of mine that's a client. What I want to happen is that when they approve it, not only is it possible that that can work easily because I can set up a button, right, where someone presses approved and then like, cool, we have a button workflow inside of Notion where they literally can just, you know, I'll show you a video, for example. They can press approved and it'll work. You see, they can press this approved button and it'll work, right? The status will change to approved. I'll get a notification via webhook. When someone would leave a comment on text though, I'd have to set up an incredibly complicated thing previously. But now with webhooks, quite literally, all that needs to happen is that, for example, I need to add the webhook system into that Notion page and that's it. So for example, I actually want to limit this. I know this might sound crazy, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the subscription and I'm not going to have it update because I don't want to waste a bunch of automations for all of the instances all across my entire account. But I do want it so that for comments that it works in my internal and external scripts. So if I go to internal and external scripts, I want it so that anytime there's an update that I can, for example, just and make sure in instances like this, you would rename it. So I would definitely want to rename and reconfigure this. I'm going to change this to workspace, Notion, comments, scripts. Okay, I guess we can't add Notion. So workspace scripts, and then probably make.com, just so that it knows that make.com is the one that I'm using it for. So now what I'm going to do is go to the database level, right? And this is what the chart was explaining earlier. You got to give access to it at certain database levels, right? If I give it access at the database level or the page level, it will then send the events out. So I'm going to add it to the database level. So let's go to share, or sorry, I should say integrations, connections. Here we go. And I'm going to go to connections and then type make.com, go to workspace comments. And since workspace comments scripts is now within here, what I can do, or I'll probably rename it one more time. I'll just do script comments just to make it as clean as possible, I think. All right, so now as you can see here, if I go back to integrations again, it should work just fine. Script comments, cool. Actually, you saw it update in real time. Let me add it here too. Script comments, awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna add script comments. Let's leave a comment again inside of this page. And you'll see that previously, even though I left this comment, there wasn't an instance of an update in my system 3 minutes ago, right? There wasn't anything that happened there. But if I look at it now in integrations / connections, I should say, you'll see that there is the script comments one here. So what I can do is I can type out something new and then leave a comment. This is a new comment. And what I want to have set up is something pretty cool. So see, it says this is a comment. And then at 3:35, what happened? We received a comment here. We have the ID, we have the timestamp, all that kind of stuff. Now, what's really cool in here is that I can set up other things using the API. So I could use an API call to essentially figure out who the person is. So if I go here into webhooks, or into the API document, and I can say user, I want to get the user, for example. What I can do is use v1 right here, and then the user ID. So let's get the user. I'm gonna just turn it off and do another test comment. All right, so we got ID, authors, cool. So this ID is definitely gonna be a person. So what we wanna do is put that ID of the author right here. I would definitely recommend that you, for all intents and purposes, work with this a little bit more in depth, because if there's multiple comments in a thread, it's probably gonna have, let's do another test, multiple comments in there. So if I do it again, let's go authors, should be more than one if there was more than one person. I'll test that out later, but just something to call out for you guys if you are using this. So we're gonna use get, and then quite literally, what I can do is now I'm gonna press run and test it one more time. New comment can be left, test, by typing test right here, and it will get some info. So if I go here, let's say I just want to grab a variable just to show you what it looks like. Okay, cool. So we got name, Dimitri Panici. That is a me. Person, their email, that kind of thing. Now, this is pretty intriguing because I actually have an automation set up in frame.io, which, like I said, is the software I use to make comments, where essentially there's two options. One, if a manager is leaving a comment, then, for example, there will be a Slack message that sends to my team like, hey, there's a manager who left comments on your content. Cool. If that's not the case, though, guess what? It would say a client left a comment. All I could do was quite literally using my team directory. It's such a basic concept. But go to team directory, right here. I'm going to copy the link here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go search and I'm going to paste this out, which is the database ID of the option right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type out the most important thing here. And what is this going to say? Let's say I grab Notion account. And we can do the Notion email, which I kind of like to do. Notion string, the email equals, if I type in email here, person email. Haha, what? That's crazy. Obviously, we can also do Notion account, and that's the people property, and I can do contains, and we can grab the ID as well of the person. So I can just type person and then ID if I want to as well, and that should work too. So let's just try this out. So let's go find team member. And then in here, I could basically set a variable or a switch variable that says if it is greater, if the total number of bundles here is equal to 0 or is 1, it would, leave a different comment. So let's just test this out. So it should say, 1 when it comes to the comment left. And I just have to leave another comment to test it out. What's up, bruh? Did it find someone? Oh, it did. That's me. That's crazy. It's almost like it's connected to my account, and that would make sense. So if I open this up, it would find me, Dimitri. And in the account, if I go here, it would say Notion account. Wow. As you can see, my Notion account is the one here. So, wow. Pretty impressive stuff, to be honest. I kind of am shocked that Notion actually added this, and it's going to save me so much. I had to make the most long-winded comment-based thing inside of Notion for a long time. So I literally made something called frame-ish because it wasn't good whatsoever. But if I go to new comment by a client or manager in frame, this is what I have for frame. And what I can quite literally do is just take this and strip it and change it to be for a comment now. So if I go to the one that I have set up, so I go comments frame-ish, maybe. So comments, Notion. Yeah, get Notion comment right here. So script comment by client or manager. How it currently worked. I just can't get over how ridiculous this was. Like I had to basically have it get the script and then try to grab the comments from the block and then figure out I don't even want to get into how complicated this is. So I'm just gonna turn this off and pretend like it's not a thing anymore. And I'm so grateful it's not a thing because this is actually ridiculous. And I'm actually gonna just make a V2 of this that is under the same webhook as this one. So I'm just gonna go here. I'm gonna clone it. I'm gonna turn off this one because good Lord knows it's awful. Go V2 of this. My team, by the way, is gonna be stoked about this because this is gonna be so good and perfect. So V2 of this, and I can actually select the webhook if I would name them for once properly, but I usually just press new webhook. So I'm gonna press edit and just call this, or I can obviously add a new one and call this script comments, internal and external. Or if I wanna get crazy, I could actually be smart and copy this, which is actually a pretty decent idea. Just copy this, delete this, so I can grab that webhook. I'm a little smarter than I look. So copy this in here, make this the first thing. But now what I would do is I essentially, after copying and pasting this little format here, just so I can get started on the automation in a little bit of a better manner. And I'm gonna fix this later for myself, but essentially what I can do is I can go back into this and I could re-update this. So I'm gonna go here, go to webhooks. I can edit the subscription and I need to actually delete a webhook and create another one in order to make this work. So I just go through this again. Unfortunately, script comments is gone. I could have just deleted the webhook, not actually deleted the whole workspace integration. Like this is gone now though. You'll see it's gone, but I didn't have to go through all that. I could have just made a new webhook. So let's go and call this scripts comments make.com. I'll call it the same thing. I'll go through the same configuring setup. I'll just literally have it be for these two things. I'll press save. I'll have it be a webhook that is only for comments. I'll add the webhook URL that I just made. I'll turn off this old automation here. I'll press copy. And you can see, by the way, when I speed run this, you can set this up for yourself in only like a minute if you really want. Verify. Let's do verify subscription by resending the token. Bada bing, bada boom, have it run. I want to get that verify token copy. Then I pasted it in there, pressed verify. Now let's do a quick test by adding it back to the scripts again. So I'll just type script comments, confirm, do it again, script comments, confirm. And then let's do one more little test to see if it worked. Test, and then we do a little bit of a test. Dang right, we got it set up right. So then let me get rid of the rest of the scenario and just do one more writing test. Test me, and look at that. Pushed it through like a champ. We got it exactly the same way. Put a little bit of a sleep module in there just so that it doesn't cause any wildness at the start when I'm testing it out. But as you can see, properly did it. Pretty crazy. So grateful, so happy. Cannot tell you how much this is going to change things for me and my team. So I just want to thank Notion for adding this. I made a rant video recently that I think a lot of people are going to be upset about. Actually, they're probably going to be more upset at Notion than me. So yeah, but I really hope they understand that they have been making improvements. It's just like, I need stability, okay? And I know you guys can get there. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.